what's up BMW bros? I am here in Helen and I came up with this idea to Pan's dismay and my dismay. We're just finished the car. We have about 30 man hours into this sucker. But I came up with the idea that, hey, Pan's here, I'm here, we have time. Let's find someone to bring a cool car and let's do a full multi-step paint correction. I wanted to make sure I had enough tools in this garage in order to get it done. So Estaban came up from Miami, or just north of Miami, from South Florida. Drove up. He responded to me on Instagram in like 25 seconds. I didn't think this through. I made a post, and I think I had like 50 plus people volunteer their car. I thought on short notice, I thought I'd have a tough time finding someone, but cool car in that we have red. It had never been polished, and so we're going to take you through that process. On Obsessed Garage channel, as you might expect, I mean, we're going to do the full deal, the full long format, all the in-between stuff. But if you're more inclined to just watch the darn thing get done, go to Pan the Organized channel. So go to his channel. We'll have the link in the description to the video where it'll be condensed into 20 minutes or something like that, whereas here we'll have it a couple hours. I'm not sure what it's going to turn into. I have one more step to do with the EXO, but I wanted to introduce you to this project. If you're interested, I think at the end of this you're going to want to come, like all the stuff we use in this video is here at the house for you to use. So if you have any interest in taking a vacation to Helen, Georgia, and want to come experience what it's like to live in a house that's to my spec, this house keeps getting better and better. So we have every part and piece that we use in this video will be available for you to come and use at no additional cost. So go to destinationog.com, check that out. I'll also put that link in the description. So, well, let's get started. Polishing for many, many hours and coating and all the little details in between. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to do this very vlog style, especially tonight when we do the decon. Michael Waba on the camera, our cinematographer's leaving, and then Chris, our other cinematographer's coming up tomorrow, so he'll get some better angles for you. But tonight I'm going to do old school Maddie. Pan and I are going to work through the car. We're going to talk Estaban through some of the details of how you do this stuff, and it's going to be a fun time, I think. So first step is decon. And I like to decon at night because then tomorrow morning we can come in and start polishing, and a lot of the drips and stuff, car will be completely dry. We're going to put it on the lift over here, and we're going to polish the heck out of this thing, take the wheels off, coat those, maybe mess with the interior. We'll see how far we get into this. We have a couple of days. We'll put in some hours here tonight, getting it prepped and ready, and then tomorrow, full day of paint correcting. Can be a lot of fun. So stay with us. All right, step one is engine bay. So we're in agreement here. Engine bay is pretty simple, right? We'll do some APC, rinse it, APC, clean it, rinse it again, spray some Pearl on there, walk away, and then we'll address that at the very end. We'll wipe off the high spots, and flatten it out later. I don't have any hyper dressing, which I prefer, so I think we have Pearl diluted like 3:1 or something like that, CarPro Pearl. The M3 engine bay actually could be coated if you really wanted to. So pressure washer setup, you guys have seen this 100 times. We got a Kranzle K1322 with the OG hose, OG gun, wand.
So it's nice to meet you, man. It's always good to, and you'll be one of my new subscribers, I'm sure.
For sure.
Welcome to the team. It's nice to always meet people in person. Yeah. So we always start, when you do a vehicle, we always start with the engine bay first. Why? Because it's the dirtiest part of the car. There's a lot of grease, dirt, and grime. So imagine having a clean vehicle, then you clean this, all that dirt and grime goes on there. That's why usually too, we're gonna do a wheels off on this, so we're gonna clean the wheels tomorrow, but normally if the wheels stay on, you would do after the wheels first, because again, dirtiest part of the vehicle, and then you do the body, exactly. And when you're pressure rinsing, and you have a tip like this, always start off on the side first, because imagine your tip is loose and it flies on the paint. So always check, make sure your fittings are secure, and you're safer like that. So a lot of people freak out when they see water with engine bays. If you don't, whoop, I guess the shocks are not strong enough.
Yeah, your shocks must be going out.
Yeah, so as long as you don't focus the stream of water on the same area at the same time, there's no worries, use common sense, and you're not using 3000 PSI. So now we're going to spray some APC. You can have a degreaser as well. Same thing. These press-all sprayers are fantastic. So of course on older vehicles, you would cover any super sensitive electronics like 15 years and older. Maybe put a plastic bag over the alternator, things like that. But on modern cars like this, you have so much plastic stuff now, and they're pretty much watertight from the manufacturer. Is this your first time that the engine bay is getting detailed?
This car, yes.
It's going to be a huge, huge visual difference. You basically go into all the nooks and crannies. It's not a concours restoration level engine bay detail, so just go about it.
Yeah, this is a simple rub it, scrub it, good to go. Now if this was super dirty, then we'd have to get a lot more into it. But.
Yep. So how long have you had the vehicle for?
Just over a year.
Okay. And you know what you're getting into, but yeah, on older vehicles, especially classic cars, you're going to want to protect any sensitive areas, any exposed electronics, alternators, things like that.
Pretty good.
Pretty clean, eh? So see, like I told you a bit before we started the recording, so engine bay first, if you're to do an engine bay detail, you don't want all that dirt and grime going back on that clean car, right?
APC going over your freshly coated surface or wax. Oh,
That's right.
I'm gonna get back to old school terrible angles. And then this is CarPro Pearl. We're just gonna cover the surface.
So you can use Pearl basically inside and outside the vehicle. Outside typically 3:1 dilution, interior 5:1 dilution. So it's good for plastic, rubber, vinyl, all that kind of stuff. Has UV protection in it.
And you wanna wait for this to dry before we fire up the engine. Should be good. Close it,
Boom.
done. 5 minutes.
Yep.
All right, decon time. I'm putting about, I'd say 175 milliliters of Decon Soap, something like that. You don't have to be perfect. Oh yeah. You get that nice and clean. Get all that chunky stuff off of there in a minute. Let me show you something. So when you're foaming, think of it. Have you ever seen anybody paint before?
Yes.
Like how they control the motion, right? So when you're foaming, you're gonna come across. You know, you're getting the job done still, but you get more even coverage if you take your time and you come through. Plus, when I see you on Instagram, then I won't have to make fun of you for doing that.
Yeah.
You know what people do? Keep it nice and easy. So do that. Managing, watching your bottle, knowing you're going to run out of soap at some point if you go too slow.
Put the soap in the wash bucket there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good to go. Now dump the rest of that soap in the bucket. The pan's filling up here.
And you have the grit guards in the bottom. That keeps all the dirt separated from the rest of your
I got you a mitt, just for you.
Yes, thank you.
Had for you.
So you're used to it by now if you watch Matt's videos, top to bottom, right? So always the least dirty place first. So normally the wheels, just so the viewers know, you do that first because they're the dirtiest parts of the vehicle, but because we're doing a wheels off detail, we're gonna take care of the wheels tomorrow. And then ideally too, like the trick, little pro tip, Try to use straight lines. So basically the way the wind would blow, if you're doing circular motion all the time, imagine there's some contamination. That's where a lot of the swirls and scratches happen, is from the wash process and the drying process. So that's why you use a drying aid in the end as a lubricant, like a buffer between the microfiber towel. So when you're like at this point and you did the glass, then go put it in the rinse bucket, clean up your pad or your wash media, and then you come back with some fresh, clean water. Always work as clean as possible. You can also flip your pad on the other side or flip your mitt. So it gives you two sides to work with.
Yeah, so just manage your pad. You know, you think logically, okay, I cleaned a dirty spot, then let me go and revisit the bucket.
So what I do for the doors, I keep the lower parts of the rockers for the end, so top section, mid section, and then the lower part. And that way you're sure to never cross-contaminate.
This is making me want a red car. I want a red NSX, Gen 2.
So what year is this Beamer again?
2008.
2008. E92. So Matt, I know you love the E92 Gen M3s with your 2013.
This is the car, S65, NAV8. Probably the best combination of induction and exhaust noise from a single vehicle in one box, one package. And we're doing a good job of washing everything twice on this car because we're not keeping track of who's doing what. I think you already did this door, didn't you? Did you do these jams, Pan?
Yep.
The inside?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Then we're done.
That's the beauty of living in non-Montreal.
So where you're in the garage, if you're ever washing in a garage, you always want to go down. So you're not hitting the walls, you know. So when you're washing this way, wash this way, you know, so wash this way instead of straight on. It's good practice for pretty much any washing, but if you're ever in a garage, so we're not hitting the darn cabinets and walls. Keep going. There you go.
It's good.
All right, next step is decon mechanical decontamination. So we're gonna actually physically touch the paint with a NanoSkin AutoScrub. So Pan has the circle discs in his hand. This is the fine version. I don't know about you, but I don't need anything more than this ever, no matter how nasty the car is. This does a great job. So you got the little blocks, you got the circle pads. You could put this on a machine. So much less efficient than just using your hand. Especially with three of us, we can knock this thing out pretty quickly. We have McKee's N914 diluted 1:128 as a clay lube, which is the same formula for Waterless Wash. So we have two bottles of the same thing. So even though it says something different, it's the same product. We're gonna go around, we're gonna start on the glass first because these are new and they probably haven't been used here. So we're gonna break them in on the glass first.
And glass Estaban is always stronger than paint. So if there's anything, clay or glass first, it's going to break in the material. So take one, then you lubricate the surface. And then you can start, well, Matt already did this one, I think. So see on the glass windshield, up and down, left to right, you'll catch all the contamination. Once you did all the glass, then you can go ahead and attack the paint.
But you've got to agitate, so I want to really go at it. So no pressure. See, I mean, glass you can use pressure, but you don't need pressure, you just need some. So it's the back and forth that kind of helps dislodge the contaminant.
And you'll hear it, that gritty texture, it'll eventually be glass smooth and you're not hearing that resistance anymore or that texture underneath your pad. So we always decontaminate a vehicle. If you had a lot of ferrous contamination, you can use an iron remover too. And this will, the fact that you're using the clay will also remove any other embedded contamination, both on glass.
So we're skipping a step
surfaces.
Because I forgot to ship the darn iron remover here. So normally you would do an iron removal before doing, so that'd be a chemical decontamination step. But we don't have any, so we're having to do this instead.
So always let the material work for you. That's why you don't need to apply too much downward pressure. It'll stick enough to pick up the contamination on its own. Same thing when you're polishing. You're not applying too much pressure, 10 to 15 pounds max. Let the pad, let the polish or the compound work for you. And then when you run your fingers, Should feel like a glass smooth surface. So that's when you know you're done removing the contamination. There you go. See, after all this, you're gonna become an expert.
If you had a really nasty car, dunk this in your bucket occasionally, clean it off. But this car would be fine to just roll through it. What do you think, Pan? You like working on these Florida cars better?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
There's no tar, there's no cinders stuck in everything.
No road salt,
Yeah.
no calcium,
This is
magnesium,
the way to go. We'll get you your green card.
no rust. I was asking him, is there any rust spots? And Matt reminded me, dude,
No.
we're not in Canada.
No harsh summer.
Plus, this car is pretty much all aluminum, so, you know.
Yeah, so for those who are wondering as well, you know, sometimes you have some tree sap, you don't necessarily have some tree sap remover. This will also help that. Any remaining tar deposits that you might have. So the clay is gonna pick up all that junk.
You know, the first time I clayed, I think it took me like 7 hours or something. You know, I thought that was the, you know, back in the day, I thought
That's how
that
you
was
do
my
it.
polishing. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I'd be sitting here working this area. Took me half a day. Now we're gonna have this done in what, 7, 8 minutes?
Exactly. And by the way, Estaban, you only clay a car that needs it. If there's literally no contamination, you put your fingers on the paint, especially in the lower parts of the rocker panels. If you don't feel that gritty surface or that textured surface, and your car was recently detailed, it's not necessary to do this, because the clay, don't forget, is still an abrasive. So it can potentially leave a bit of marring, hence why we usually follow up with polishing steps, and that'll remove any of that marring, scratches, oxidation, swirls. Quick rinse and you're good to go. Yeah, because traditional clay, if you drop it on the floor, it's essentially good for garbage. Yeah, there you go. You got it. Always make sure you have plenty of lubrication. Some people like using just some soapy water. I still prefer a dedicated clay lube or like a rinseless wash, properly diluted. So Estaban, come here. So I show you, because you're learning the ropes, just so you know. You see how the blower didn't remove all the water this time? There's a lot of freestanding. That's because there's no protection. So we're starting to remove whatever was there before, even if there was nothing. And when there's no hydrophobic properties from either a wax, a sealant, or ceramic coating, the water doesn't bead off and sheet off, so it sticks to the paint more, which is what we want in this case because we are preparing, but we're going to finish towel drying because the blower would be efficient more if you had some protection.
Yeah.
So that way, and you'll see, yeah, it would have been done in like 2 minutes.
Yeah. So we'll use the big boy towels instead. You want to follow and do the final wipe, we'll do the first wipe.
And why we're not using a drying aid in this case is you don't want to be applying any protection before you're going to remove it with the polisher compound.
So normally there'd be almost no water on this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And after that blow off.
Yep.
The blow off would have taken me twice as long as I would have really gotten in and gotten every square inch of it. But so this is like it's a miserable experience trying to dry a car with no protection.
Yeah.
You know, trying to wash a car without anything on it.
You're going to see how much funner your life is going to be after this.
Sucks.
Oh yeah. Because you said you never applied anything on it, right? No wax, no sealant. Yeah. And even when you get, you know, a new car, usually people say, oh, do we have to go through all the decon steps on a brand new car? Well, yeah, because first of all, it's been transported through a boat, train, trucks, all that stuff. It's been exposed to the elements, to rail dust, brake dust. It's been left at dealership lots for months on end. Also, the dealership usually applies some cheap wax or sealant before they deliver the vehicle to you, and they do a poor prep job. So you want to make sure you remove all that stuff and contamination before you apply a protection, especially a long-lasting coating like we'll be applying on your car. Does that make sense, Matt?
Nope. Can you
Nope.
say it again?
And when you're applying, especially a coating, you don't want any water dripping from anywhere. You don't mix water with silicon dioxide or graphene-based protection. They don't mix well together.
I hate big towels.
Yep.
This is the only purpose I have big towels for, is post-decon, pre-polishing.
And your microfiber towels, Estaban, when you're done using them, when you're washing them, never any product with any bleaches, dyes, or fabric softeners. It's very bad for the fibers. So you use either a microfiber detergent or Tide Free and Clear or that kind of stuff. And when you're drying them, most important, little heat or no heat. So never high heat. It's not good for the fibers.
No heat.
Perfect. Tumble dry, air dry, that kind of stuff there. And they'll last a long time. See, this is the added difficulty when you're detailing and doing a video at the same time, Estaban. Gotta check your lighting, the exposure, make sure the angles are right, the sound's okay.
I kind of like detailing with, when you do it like a group of people, it takes half the time, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'd be like 25% in right now.
All right, she already looks better than when she came in. Smoother, slicker, getting all that junk off. And by the way, too, another thing, you know the Decon Soap, just so everybody knows, they're not meant to fully strip the protection. They usually start the breaking down process. So for a fresh thinner or wax, just a Decon Soap alone won't fully strip that. So that's what you follow, usually with a polishing stage after the decontamination, because the mechanical abrasion, that's what's really gonna remove any previous protection. The ceramic coatings, they need to bond to clear coat to make sure they're effective and they're durable. So you don't want any protection on there beforehand.
Alrighty, let's do a good old-fashioned brake buster.
Clean your wheels and tires.
Tilt it. Pretty good.
So Matt, what I'll do to help it out before your P&S, a bit of tar remover.
Yeah.
It's going to remove any adhesive, glue, anything from weight, stuff like that, or tar bits that get there. You can spray that on, let it dwell a bit, and then you put the brake buster on top, you clean. It's going to remove a lot of that junk. So chemical decon. Wheels are some of the filth. You see all that black stuff there? All the tar deposits. Spray that out. Then you can cover the P&S. Boom. You can grab the wheel bucket. You'll have the mitt for the wheels and all the brushes as well. See all this browning that's coming off already? Got a lot of the ozonites that are in there that are coming to the surface. Remove that. Any dirt, grease, grime.
Actually, the face.
I didn't do the face.
Yeah. All right, we're feeling pretty good tonight, so I think we get the polisher out and let's start test spotting it. We'll see if we can capture on camera. So once we do the polishing here, we'll do an A/B and kind of show you the difference of the paint. The paint's in good condition. You know, there's some rock chips and pitting and normal stuff which we're not going to be able to address here. But the normal toweling, like this car, is in really good shape. Just normal surface scratches from drying, from toweling. So he's done a good job taking care of this thing. There's a few little deeper scratches, but we're gonna try some stuff. So we'll try least aggressive, like normal, and work our way up. So we'll start with I think yellow pad's perfect finish. We'll see what that looks like. But you know, we'll very likely need to do. I can just look at this and tell. And knowing this paints very well, we're probably gonna be Jess Carr on a microfiber cutting pad. But let's, for the fun of it, let's show him what you would do if you were gonna try to figure out what to do when you're painting, because you always want to do least aggressive as possible, if possible.
So the reason why, Estaban, you're doing test spots, not every single paint is the same. Some clear coat is softer, some clear coat is harder. You don't know how long it's been there, how much there's left. So to find the correct pad and compounding polish combination, you always start with the least aggressive method, move up in aggression, never the other way around. So by doing a few tests, you're gonna be able to tell which pad and polish or compound is most appropriate for your type of paint. So if you have super deep scratches, swirl marks, oxidation, you'd initially start with a compound, move on to the refining stage, which is the polishing stage. And what that does, it increases the gloss. So little people know that the best best way to have an increase in gloss on your paint is actually through paint polishing. You're leveling the surface, better light reflection, better gloss. You're getting more clarity with polishing at the end as well. And all that metal flake, if you do have a paint like that, is going to pop a lot more. It's going to look better. So we're going to start now with Sonac's Perfect Finish on a Rupes yellow foam pad, which is Matt and I's favorite polish combination. We're going to see what that gives. And then if we need to go more aggressive, then you move on. Well, you can start with compound with the microfiber Maguire's pad, cutting disc, and then finish with the polish.
So, I'm gonna prime the pad for you. I prime. Do you prime pad?
Yep.
Pan?
Yep.
I'm a pad primer, especially foam. I guess no, especially microfiber. Less important on foam, I think, but I prime it.
Yeah, microfiber, I like to coat all the fibers. There's always a debate. The foam pads, do you prime or not? I use the Rupes way and I prime.
So this is great for you, like if you're starting out, like if you can get yourself a Milwaukee machine, especially as you start to build Milwaukee tools, you can have the same battery ecosystem, but the magic of this is I don't have to go plug it in anywhere. So we'll start with this, and this is the 15 millimeter version. So we have a 15 millimeter orbit, and it moves it in a circle in a random fashion and oscillates. So we have a true random orbit.
It's like a figure 8 pattern.
So I want to sort of set the pad up here, make sure it's flat. You'll have a tendency, especially when you're new, when you're polishing, like if you were polishing, you probably end up doing half the car this way. One way to learn how to do that, and we'll work on you as we work on the car, is to most of your, like this hand here is just a guide. Your left hand, do you do it opposite hand since you're lefty? Do you go,
I go
right
like this.
hand first?
Yes.
Yeah. So a lefty, you would normally go right hand first. It's weird because our less dominant hand is the more important hand
Yeah,
in
I
polishing.
do everything upside down. Don't rely on me.
Yeah. so I'm right-handed, so I'm going left hand forward, left hand on the front of the polisher. And this is where I'm gonna, lean in depending on how much pressure I want. I'll start it out, so I'll prime the pan on low speed. I need a towel.
So you start on low and then you increase the speed. So you spread the product around on low speed and then you increase the speed depending on which polisher, speed 5 or 6. You always polish at a higher speed. And then if you're applying just a liquid sealant or a liquid wax, then you can use the lower speeds. You don't need super high speed to apply those.
I usually don't do this because I'm lazy, but normally, since this is a diminishing polish, so when I start it on the paint, it starts cutting, and then as you make successive passes, it cuts less and finishes, right? So think of like little pebbles that get diminished as you make more passes. So if you were a real stickler for the rules here, I put some on here, I primed it, so I'm already starting to cut, so I should wipe it off now. Now that my pad is ready to go, now I should put 2 more drops and then go.
So
but I never freaking do that, but you should.
Okay.
That's good practice. That's Jason Rose from Maguire's and Rupes. That's his technique, his practice. So now I'm good to go. I'm gonna spread it around, low speed. And then I'm gonna come up. I like 4400 on this.
We're going to start with 1 left to right, up and down, left to right. That's 1 pass. Stop, wipe off, observe, and then move on.
So,
you're not polishing forever.
Remember my hand here, this hand is guiding. So I shouldn't be steering with this hand. Everything's done. If this battery wasn't here, I shouldn't even need my right hand. I want to make sure it's nice and flat. If I come up on edge, it stops spinning.
So you want the platter to always keep on spinning. Flat and always spinning. If you apply too much pressure, it stalls. It stops moving, you're not correcting anymore. Exactly.
So as you're learning, one good simple formula could be if you do a cross hatch, right? So if I go like this, that's 1. And then I go like this, that's 2.
And then you stop.
And the
then
last one.
No, then I do again, that's 3. And again in 4. So 4 sets of cross hatch passing is a good, good formula.
Yep.
And then you'll notice, so my pad does this, but then I'm going to overlap a bit.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm going to overlap a bit. Same thing this way. I'm going to overlap. So I don't want to try to get, to manage. Or try to match it. I want to overlap. And so cross hatching is a good method. I don't do that as much or as often anymore, but it's a good practice to time yourself and to get a good decent job done.
And inspect your work. See, already now we can tell how glossy it looks.
Yeah, super glossy. But see these scratches here? Can you see those still?
Yeah.
There's a scratch right here. There's a scratch right there. Scratch right there. So my 4 sets of passes with perfect finish, like you could say that that car looks a whole lot better. Let's see this deeper scratch there.
Mm-hmm.
This pitting is, there's not really much we can do.
Yeah,
Some of that's solvent pop, and some of it's just, you know, sand impact and dirt impact, stuff like that. But we're not going to take that out.
But you see already how that red looks more vibrant compared to this, richer.
100%.
Yeah.
Right, so look at how much, and it'll be hard to see on camera here, but we'll try to capture it. But so look at how much it did remove. See, look at all the little minor imperfections.
Yep.
The only thing that's left are the big stuff. So now we have a choice to make. Do we keep trying to hammer with this? Just out of experience, I know that that isn't going to get those out. You know, we might get it another 10%, but if we want to get this really good, the good news is we're not going to have to hammer on this very hard. We can use a pretty mild compounding polish. That is a finishing, sort of a hybrid finishing polish. So now we can very likely go and just do a simple microfiber cutting pad and a different polish. So I don't know about you, Pan, but when I'm doing a test spot, if I'm going to add a new air variable, I'm going to move over. I'm going to move over to here.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Because then you won't know what you did with the first one, yeah.
Correct. So we're going to use Jessica correction compound. I'm going to spread it around. This one, it's about coating the fibers. All right, so I'm getting all the polish on the fibers here. And I don't have to worry about priming this otherwise, like I would foam. Yeah, so that's good enough. Just make sure you cover all the fibers. I hate tape though, because tape is grabbing the residue. You know, we're grabbing residue off the tape, but for the purposes of video and our Padawan learner here,
Yeah.
we'll do the taping. I'm already doing bad habits, so you should theoretically spread it around at low speed and come up, but I don't freaking do that, so screw it.
Always inspect your work.
So I'm also a whole lot more aggressive with the amount of pressure I'm using when I'm using a microfiber pad generally. I'm pushing down harder than I would with foam. So we're at 3,500. 3,500 is a pretty good color temp for this.
Yep.
So look at that.
Yeah. And that's just compounding, right? Remember, you're finishing with the polish. So you're removing all the compounding, the hazing, and all that stuff because you're refining the surface. So this is like, see it like a sandpaper kind of like, right?
So
Because there's a
I
gritty
think
texture.
I'm gonna want to do this twice, I think. It's a little, I don't know if you can see, this is a little bit brighter, so this is a little hazier. Jessica doesn't haze very much. Like if we had done Cut Max, we would have been all hazed up. So it would just look haze, just cloudy. Fancy word for saying cloudy.
Yeah.
This pad, you don't have to blow out as much as you would a microfiber. Another thing to keep in mind, like I'm doing it out here so that you can see and I'm out of the way of the camera, but you really want to be in, close to yourself so you can see what you're doing.
Now this should be as good as it gets. Even without the light, you can see how it pops.
Yeah.
Looks crystal clear.
So you see this little tick mark here is too deep. I could sit there attacking it. Plus it's up to the tape, so I probably would have done a little better if the tape wasn't here. Same thing with this here. I'm not getting up next to the tape.
It's near impossible to get 100% correction, and if you were to, you'd be sacrificing way too much clear coat. So like 85, 90 if you can get there, it's gonna look amazing.
Yep.
You did it?
That's our ticket, bros.
Wow. Oh yeah.
That's real nice. So 2 sets of passes with the microfiber and Jessica correction compound, single pass, which we'll do at the end. The other thing you need to be careful is this peak here. You notice I wasn't sitting on the peak. I'm rocking. I'm either on this panel or this side of the panel or that side of the panel. And I'm gonna make a smooth, quick transition because this will be the thinnest part in the paint. right? And so you want to be careful, you know, especially in cars that have more aggressive lines like this. You want to be careful, like you want to be careful with this here. You know, you don't want to park your pad on there. You'll generate a ton of heat. But what we'll work on with you is pad flatness. We'll work on edge work, show you how to do edges, and then, you know, work on your speed, your pressure, all that kind of stuff.
So as you saw, he's now rushing through it, slow, steady pace, flat pad. So if you're looking at where the tape line is, so this is the part where the polish never hit, right? So you see all the hairline scratches, all the deeper scratches, and that become light oxidation. Look at this here, there's nothing left. So you're getting pure light reflection compared to the side that was not corrected. And then here again, that's even better.
It looks
so
like straight fog.
Exactly. There you go. You fully understood. So that's what you're doing by correcting. You're leveling the surface, removing all the top scratches, hills, and valleys, and bringing it as close to perfection as you can without sacrificing too much clear coat.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, now bring me over to the far left.
Oh yeah, shoot.
Yeah, there we go.
Super foggy.
Now cruise back over to the right. As soon as we cross the tape, boom. Nice.